don't like us, and they will do whatever they can to poison our relationships with everybody. And you're going to find that it's just the way it is, okay? So what people were trying to do is to get beyond that and to get to the people. That's why Secretary Clinton, when she came in October, wanted to talk directly to the women, to the people. She was trying to touch base with the people, saying, hey, we really do care, we want to help, we're trying to help you. With the floods right now, this is a great opportunity for the U.S. Now, the U.S. is now sending aid in there, and the people are starting to see, well, hey, they are helping us. I've been watching it on the following it since I've been back, and that's what has to happen, because the people in the villages that don't have any contact with us Americans, all that they know is what they get from their news, and as you know, news can be very biased. So they get what is, what people want them to hear. And it's easy to turn them, it's easy to dissuade people who don't have access to the truth, the facts, or have some emotional reason to believe otherwise. If you have an emotional reason to believe something bad about an entity or a person, you're gonna believe that. But they're trying to dispel that now with the aids coming in, and they're seeing that the U.S. is helping them. So that's a good question. I don't really have a good answer for you. I think we have to. The relationship has to get better for our own sake. The troops in Afghanistan, if we didn't have Pakistan allowing us to have access to the roads that take us in there, we'd be really in trouble. So for that reason alone, we have to keep good relationships with them. It's a strategic country, it really is. And it's very sad. I mean, it's very sad. The people are great. Islam is very misunderstood by a lot of people, unfortunately. And the true Muslims, unfortunately, have a bad name because of some of the extremists. A very small percentage are extremists. It's very sad. It's very sad.
As David was preaching today, there is a level, an elite power in Pakistan, disparity. Do you know what I'm talking about? How there is a lot, there's a disparity. You have some very super rich, you have a majority of them are poor, and some of them are abusing their power positions.
Yeah.
I saw similarity between what you were saying today. I was just wondering if you could expand on that at all.
It's there. Unfortunately, the people are pretty much pacifists. Okay, so they're not inclined to do much about their government. They're very peaceful people. They just they avoid conflict. They're living their and they're just like everyone else around the world. They're the same. They're trying to raise families. They're trying to provide for their families. They have issues about health, just like it's no different than anybody here. I mean, human issues are human issues. They're all striving for the same thing. They want what's best for their children. They're trying to do the best for them. They're struggling with paying their bills every day. It's the same kind of issues, and unfortunately, they're not gonna take a stand. And even if they did, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to take a stand there. So it's going to be tough for them. This gentleman, then we'll go back there. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
What is your assessment of the stability of the government there for the next, say, 2 to 3 years?
Well, that's an interesting question. Zardari is going to be around for a while. I think his term still goes for a couple more years. And, it's very split. The feelings about him, as you know from reading, they're very split.
Yeah.
And the head of the army is, they're sharing power. That's very difficult question for me to answer. And it's straight off. I'm not here to discuss too much of that nature of the. But I think that they're doing the best they can, and I think the U.S. is playing it just as it should. I think Secretary Clinton is doing a good job of trying to maintain it. The Ambassador Patterson, she does a wonderful job of maintaining somewhat of a balance among those competing forces within the government. Because there are people higher up that really just don't like us, and that's just a fact right now. Things will begin to change as as the leadership changes in the next years or so, but it's hard to predict exactly how that will unfold, unfortunately. But as long as we have a good ambassador in there, I think she's a tough lady, and hopefully the next one that comes in after her will maintain the same kind of relationship.
Just a little follow-up to that. Yeah. How long does the ambassador stay there? I mean, is there a continuity that,
Yeah, that's a good question. I do believe they're 3 years, and you can extend if you so desire. Now, she's married, and it's an unaccompanied post, meaning that your family members cannot be there. Her husband has visited. I've met her husband. He's a retired Foreign Service officer. And So that's what keeps the longevity. It's difficult because it's an unaccompanied post. The people whose spouses do come with them have jobs within the embassy. So there were some married couples there. But from what I understand, she's leaving in October. The DCM, the second in command, has already left. The new one is scheduled to arrive very soon now. So, back there?
Do you feel the Department of State should yield a visa function to the Department of Homeland Security?
That's a very good question. My position may be biased, but I just tell you the facts. The Department of Homeland Security doesn't have in place right now the same type of training that the Department of State has. They don't have any cultural knowledge of the, they don't have a presence in all the countries right now. They don't have the language skills. If in order for them to do that, it would take a lot to gear up to get ready for that. The visa function is it's what can I say? It's not complicated, but it's as uniform as it can be given what we're working with, and it's come a long way since 9/11. A lot of changes have been implemented in how we issue visas. My job was specifically immigrant visas, by the way. I was in the consular function. So I had the consular commission where I was able to do, I'm a notary public, and all that stuff. Consulars have a very specific set of functions aside from other diplomats. So I had the authority to issue immigrant visas, or non-immigrant, as the case may be. But the visa function, I do believe, belongs in the State Department, just because of it is a diplomacy issue. Because of the visas that we authorize, and the other countries, we have reciprocal, very, very specific criteria they must meet in order to come to this country to live. We make sure that they can afford it, that they're not going to become public charge. So all of those things are in place. So I think that we do it better than right now Homeland Security is set up to do it. So does that answer your question? Okay. Yes, sir.
Well, a question and a comment. You almost answered the question, what did you do when you were
What did I do? Okay.
And the other one is, our experience is you knew a whole lot more about the country in 2 or 3 months than you did in a year.
Yeah.
I mean, the longer you're there, the more it looks more complicated. So that other question about how long do people stay? I mean, is there continuity there?
Yeah.
Some people have this continuity, know what came and what's going on.
Well, yeah, the local staff. The
Yes.
local staff is the institutional memory.
Mhm.
And it's hard to even describe how committed they are. They are very, very loyal, hardworking people. And they love their jobs. They know they have a good job working for the U.S. Embassy. And they are committed. I mean, I've seen them do some amazing things in my time here. For the State Department, our tour is 1 year because it's a hardship post. Some people stay a second year, but not in the same position. A couple of my colleagues who were consular when I arrived, one of them went to the political unit and one went to the economics unit, for example. The consul general, who was in charge of all consular functions, he was there 2 years. So my first year there was his second year. He left, in fact, the day after I left, he left post. There are people from other agencies, the Department of Defense people. I had a good friend who was a captain in the Navy, for example. He was there, and he got called out of retirement to go there, and he's working with the Pakistani Navy right now. And he told me his tour, he was there for 18 months, and they told him they might want him to stay another 6 months. And so it just varied. The USAID people were there for 2 years, and I think there were some folks that were there for 3, depending on which part of the government you worked for. But State Department, for diplomats, it was 1 year tour unless you could find a position that you wanted to stay for another year, and you had to work it out that way. Yeah.
What are you looking forward to when you're in the next assignment? I've heard there are people over there who don't want to go like us either. What do you want to do in France?
I'm going to be consular. I mean, it's interesting how this process works. After I got there July 23rd, so about a month later, we were given the list of job openings that were going to come about in the time period that would fit our schedules. Okay, so I looked through this. I think there were almost 500 jobs, but most of them didn't work for me because of the timing. You have to see, because I was scheduled to leave Pakistan either July or August. Then you have to account for your training, the training time, etc., and see when that job opening was, and see if your timing worked. So out of those jobs, there were probably only about 50 that would match timing. And then some of them I didn't want to bid on because since I'm an older new employee, I have limited time. You have to retire when you're 65. And I'll be 57 very soon, so I only have 8 more years. So I didn't want to spend a long time learning a language. So I chose a position that I have to learn French. It's a 6-month language class. So I chose a position that would have the minimum amount of training so that I could go out and travel for as much as I could. So what I looked forward to, because I did choose a consular job, I want to see consular work at a normal post. Pakistan is not normal. Because it's Pakistan, the security issues, we do a lot of security-related work. We all have top secret clearances, and we have access to information that we use in order to decide about issuing a visa or not issuing a visa. So that kind of thing won't exist in Paris. Okay, first of all, there aren't a lot of French people looking to immigrate to the United States. It'll mostly be American citizen services that I'll do probably, because Americans will come to France and they'll lose their passport, they'll lose their money, and they'll get arrested and they'll do all this crazy stuff. And that's part of our job, is to help them. Okay, so I think that'll be interesting. I think that'll be. Did I answer your question? Okay, yes, sir.
I have a two-part question.
Uh-huh.
You said that the ambassadorship in Pakistan is an unaccompanied post.
Yeah, everybody, yeah, all of them.
What determines that? Is it because it's
The danger. The danger.
So they don't want your spouse or your children there?
Exactly, because at one time, it's only been an unaccompanied post since, what year was it? It's only been that way for about 12 years. Prior to, I forget exactly what year, there was a bombing, and I don't remember the year, sorry. But it used to be the families went there. They had a very, very good American school, very good school. And people took their families there and children. It was a really great place until that specific, I forget exactly, sorry, I just don't remember what incident triggered it. But now it's unaccompanied. There are a few posts that are unaccompanied. Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and a couple others, I believe, are unaccompanied tours where you cannot take your family. But everything else, you take your family.
The second part was, is there any cultural resistance to an ambassador being a woman in Pakistan?
That's a very good question. The answer to that is no. She is highly respected by all of the people in the Pakistani government and the military. So because she knows her stuff, she's a tough lady. She does a good job, but she's fair. So yeah, so that's a good question. But no, there is none of that at all. None of that at all. Good. Yeah.
They're also not under Sharia law, correct?
No, oh no.
And
no.
Didn't you say that if that ever happened in Islamabad, the embassy would leave? Or explain how that...
Probably. I mean, if Sharia law were to move in, which is very unlikely. I mean, the people do not want that in the cities. That just isn't going to fly. If something were to happen that way, the embassy could show. There are stages that happen when the U.S. government wants to show its displeasure with something happening. First thing they'll do is remove the ambassador. They'll pull the ambassador back home and leave everything else in place. So there are stages that happen when something that happens. I know that they pulled the ambassador from Venezuela when there were some things happening down there, for example. So yeah, it would happen in stages, but that's highly unlikely. That really is. Like I don't see that ever happening there. Yeah. Anybody else have a question before we move on? I want to show you a little bit about the city. I'm talking about the city. Let me show you some pictures of it. You can get a better idea of what Islamabad looks like. Okay, unfortunately some of these are hazy because the air is very dirty. When it doesn't rain, it gets pretty dirty. That is Faisal Mosque. That's a very, very well-known site in Islamabad. It's Faisal Mosque. It's sitting at the base of the Margala Hills. The plane crash was it's right up on the hill above that mosque. That's where the plane crashed. This is Rawal Lake that I showed you on the map. See it off in the distance. And this is looking down from the hillside. There is Jinnah Avenue, the one with all the tall buildings. That's the main street in Pakistan where the donkeys walk down every morning. You can see it again. That's Jinnah Avenue. And there's Jinnah Avenue again, going down. The embassy's down at the end, embassy compound. That's looking down on the hillside. That's actually Saidpur village, the village I showed you in those other pictures. This is Jinnah Avenue, the main drag in Pakistan. And you can see it's 6 lanes, 3 in each direction.